just talking to you like a normal person. That's what Jennifer from Sweet Home, California does. Tell me, if I'm looking at, let me find out about prepping. What is prepping? Somebody, a complete novice, complete idiot, what would you suggest to me?
The first thing you need to do is you have to live below your means. You've got to get rid of debt, because so long as you are in debt, it is really hard to try and prepare for the future, because you're only living in the moment.
What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. When The Economist, and that's what you're looking at right now, an article from The Economist, when they start using skulls on their pictures, it might be time to pay attention. The coming food catastrophe. So they have an article under Leaders, War and Farming called The Coming Food Catastrophe. War is tipping a fragile world towards mass hunger. Fixing that is everyone's business. And they're using skulls on wheat, on grains. It's time to be like, whoa, okay, what's happening? That's the splash of cold ice water on your face in the morning to jolt you. It says, by invading Ukraine, Vladimir Putin will destroy the lives of people far from the battlefield. So I'm going to take this to friend of show. I'm going to play a clip here. Friend of show, Jennifer from Sweet Home, California, and tell you why I like to associate with certain people. I like to watch certain people's channels, because I read this article and it's obviously fear. You see the skulls. That's to scare you. And then the article starts by doing what? Blaming Vladimir Putin. Then who else gets blamed? Pandemic, climate change, energy shock. So the article starts out with no responsibility on anybody's part. And it's not an article. Well, I didn't read the whole article, so let me not say that. The part that I read, and I am not going to sign up with this for this. I think my wife actually subscribes to this, but I will not partake. I do not expect to see anything that is empowering to common citizens. So the article starts out with the blame game, diverting blame from certain people, putting it on others. Of course, all opinion. And then it talks about what's happening. So it's to scare you, and then say the reason why you're scared is because of these things are why you should be scared. Let me show you another article here on the blackouts. This one is a little bit better, but it's still not the empowerment that I'm looking for. Blackouts inevitable. Yes, report deadly summer blackouts inevitable as renewables struggle to replace reliable energy. So the other article from The Economist, you could argue, is from the corporate position, like, oh, this stuff is looking pretty bad. It's not the fault of corporations. It's not the fault of leaders, political leaders. It's these other things. It's not the government response to these things. So now you're looking at the right perspective, you could say, the Federalist. And it's talking about deadly summer blackouts and telling you what's happening, why. They're blaming the green agenda, which I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but you go down in the article here, and you can clearly see, make no mistake, this is all a man-made energy crisis on the part of leaders who worship at the altar of the green agenda while plunging our country into the dark ages, warning us about blackouts that could be happening, rolling blackouts this summer if it's especially hot and we don't have our energy infrastructure in place. So now this article is blaming the leaders. I don't like either one. They're good for information. Don't get me wrong. You can get information from them. But during these times, I need empowerment. Good. Okay, the blackouts there, you blame the leaders. Or the blackouts there, you blame these other factors, not the leaders. Okay, at least put something in there. Well, what do I do? What do you suggest? Did you do any research on that? Do you even care about what I think, or is the whole goal of the article to blame this or blame that? That's what we get in the media. That's why I go to YouTube and I will look specifically for channels that don't have that many followers, because I can get real talk, an organic face-to-face conversation, or, just a person in their basement like me right here, just talking to you like a normal person. That's what Jennifer from Sweet Home, California does. So tell
Mm-hmm.
me, if I'm looking at, let me find out about prepping. What is prepping? What, somebody, a complete novice, complete idiot, what would you suggest to me?
The first thing you need to do is try and you have to live below your means. You've got to get rid of debt because so long as you are in debt, it is really hard to try and prepare for the future because you're only living in the moment.
So this is how a real person talks to you and presents their opinion to you. So she says, prepping, here's my thought on prepping. First, if you are in debt, it's difficult. It's a what a great I didn't know where she was going to start. An empowering message to start with. And you'll hear her say, if you are in debt, you're living in the moment. And that is a problem that we see many people in urban areas suffer. So when the power goes out and food is gone, you might be in debt. And forget about debt, it's the living in the moment with no money saved, no skills learned or saved. And that goes for anybody anywhere, but you see that a lot in urban areas because I grew up in the suburbs, but it's very similar to an urban area. You're so used to going to the grocery store, you get stuff from other people. You don't have to do much. If you're in a rural area, maybe you always grew up with cows and you got milk and you got eggs through that. What is empowering message, and what an empowering place to start. It's she says debt, but it's even more about, like, you've got to be able to put yourself in a position to live. Prepping is literally preparing for the future. So if you're living day to day or check to check, are you preparing for the future mentally? What would you suggest to me?
The first thing you need to do is try and you have to live below your means. You've got to get rid of debt because so long as you are in debt, it is really hard to try and prepare for the future because you're only living in the moment. And so because of I've made financial mistakes, I am certainly not the example of I've done everything right, but luckily with the thanks of my husband getting a better paying job and I'm getting some I got my side hustle going on with making signs and other things that we've been able to
She talked about a side hustle, getting her side hustle
start.
on. That means something. That's another. So she said, try to take care of your debt so you can prepare and you can use your resources for the future. And I got side hustles. So if I lose a job, I got this other thing. I'm always thinking, what's the next thing? What's the other thing? That's no different than diversification in a stock portfolio. If you've got one job and you go every day to that job, what happens if you don't have that job anymore? Do you have another job that you can quickly turn to or put more focus on or start?
Saving up a bit, and I have finally started getting into trying to prepare for that future. We're hoping to retire eventually, but it also is a matter of we have earthquakes near here. The power grid could go down. And if the power grid goes down, my refrigerator goes down. What am I going to do with all that food? I should have some things that are set aside that are shelf stable. And so I started trying to do that, learning how to dehydrate, learning how to pressure can. The main things that I've been doing are dehydrating. So like this is carrots. And so instead of having carrots in the freezer or in the refrigerator that they're going to go bad over time, I put them on a dehydrator. It takes about 12 to 20 hours, and then cut them all up and put them in this jar. I've got this is something that I invented. You put it in here. You have a cap. You got a food saver. Suck the air out, and then it'll suck the air out of this as well. And so air is an enemy to how long you can keep your food shelf stable. So you suck all that air out, and then that's going to last on your shelf 18 to 24 months at least.
I just like you. I don't know if they are making terrible mistakes or really don't have the best interest in mind of the common people, but we got to start looking out for ourselves. Damn the Republican, Democrat. That's what prepping is to me. Prepping is
Hmm.
like, damn all them. They're not going to
Hmm.
save you. When things
No.
get rough, they will be eating and you will be
Yeah.
struggling.
And you need to get back into community too, because part of being prepared is that no person is an island. Um, get to know your neighbors, and you'd be surprised how many.
Listen to the power of that. Where are you hearing that from corporate media? And I bring up corporate media because I want to make a contrast there. I want to let you know why I care so much about what you say in the chat, what Jennifer says, and everybody, friend of show, and all that. It's not about your subscriber number or anything like that. It's about Ray Studio, shout out, and Carlos, who I met through Ray, and just so many people. It's not about that. It's about that discussion. So she's saying, well, she said she was talking about prepping, debt, looking forward, and what are you going to do with vacuuming the air out of your food so maybe it lasts if you don't have electricity. And then after that, she says community. Where are you getting the message of the importance of community? That's not an accident that we don't get that message of what about the people around you? Build with them so you all can have a small little ecosystem of, well, I'm a plumber, or I can do fencing, or I'll do anything, or we can say, okay, between the 100 of us that live close by, or 20, we can do that. That's what we saw with the baby food shortage. With the baby food shortage, we saw that if you don't have wet nurses, I didn't even know how they did it back in the day until this came up. And somebody was like, well, how did they used to do it before they had baby formula? They used to have a wet nurse where people, I don't know if they got paid or what. I don't even know the details, but it was a community mother who produced milk, and you could bring your baby there and they would feed the baby. I don't know if that's the exact answer we have now, or we should have, but it's the community will get together. Imagine if you lived near, and I'm trying to build an online community with people like, all the people you've seen on the show and yourself, where we can build. That's an empowering message. That is a significant difference from what you hear from the mainstream corporate outlets. And that's why when Donald Trump starts talking about civil war, they're happy about it. They're elated. George Conway's talking about, here comes the termite. Donald Trump could leave, but he left all these termites. That's why you hear that kind of stuff. They don't want community because you get together with your community. That's why when the pandemic came, what was one of the first places shut down? Churches. What was that about? You don't get to say if a church shuts down or not. That's a separation. There should not be businesses as well, but you should not. The government should not say, "Hey, church, you got to stop. It's an emergency. It's an emergency. You got to stop." That's not. If we can't operate the same way consistently, emergency or not, then we have a problem. We don't have rights, and they've attacked the family structure. They are attacking community. And I didn't even bring that up to Jennifer. I just said, hey, prepping, what do we do? And she went right there to like big picture, awesome ideas. I'm going to finish this off. Thanks a lot for listening. I'm going to finish this off, but I'm going to say this. One of the best things, I'm going to put a link to her channel in the chat. If you want to know how you can support independent people, if you enjoy their work, or just subscribe and say hello. I can't speak for Jennifer, but I would say that's worth more than any type of money. Just stop by, say hello, or feedback, plus, minus, doesn't matter what the feedback is, respectfully, and you build a little bit of community and structure, and you can say all the negative things, and I have, trust me, about YouTube and all these other companies. We're still able to do a little bit of something on here, and for that, I'm grateful. I'm going to finish this out. Let me know what you think. Take care.
Have the same exact concerns that you do, and may also be doing their own prepping. And by having that community, then you're going to feel better, first of all, that you've got somebody nearby that has your back. And also they may have different skills. You say that you're not one that's really all that handy. Well, maybe you've got a friend, a neighbor who's a plumber. Maybe you've got someone who's an electrician. Maybe you got someone who is raising chickens and they've got more eggs than they know what to do with. Maybe you can help them afford that chicken feed by buying some of those eggs from them. And so that's some things that I talk about on my channel as well. And it doesn't have to be end of the world scenarios, but the side benefit is that we are prepared for end of the world scenarios, but we're also prepared for hurricanes and earthquakes and inflation going through the roof. That if you've got enough food on hand, then hopefully you can survive the stores being empty for a few weeks, or you can survive the inflation going through the roof because you've already got food on hand. Or you can also survive the economy going down, and if you lose your job and you can't afford things, if you've already got that stocked up, then you can weather that more. And by being prepared, you are going to be more independent, and you will not be as controlled by an employer or the government or things like that, because you're more in control of your own destiny.